All right. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going to do some live action demonstrations. So, for those of you that are, of course, tuning in that have the ability to take some notes, highly recommend it. We're going to be going over a little bit more in depth on how to be able to build your 4 week forecast utilizing the CRM. As you know, this is a multi-million dollar platform that gives us the ability to manage the relationships we're building on a day-to-day basis. And so one of the biggest things that we always talk about is, we definitely don't have a challenge in working harder, but I think the biggest thing that we want to continue to elevate ourselves in is how to be working smarter. And a lot of the times, we tend to, we tend to get the basics down, but this training is going to be about taking it up a notch when utilizing the CRM. So here, I'm letting a few more people in. This is let me see if I can. Interesting. Okay, I think we got everybody in here. Let's go, baby. Jump on in. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, baby. Woo! Fired up. Okay. Let me get this thing rocking and rolling. Then I've got a couple of slides I'm going to cover with you. And here it is. Can everybody see my screen? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. So as many of you have saw, there was a training that was done earlier by the corporate office. I think they did a fantastic job diving into the 10 blocks of time and the why. I'm going to go a little bit further into detail about utilizing the 4 week forecast and give you a little bit more of a why behind why this is an essential piece to manage your business with. I did a little bit of research, put some things together, some things for you to also think about while we're going through this training to just elevate your way of looking at this particular tool. And so let me go ahead and start off by starting this. Okay, so let's start off with why do we need it? Okay, I'm going to go over a couple of things here, but number one is structure. Studies show that by having a schedule, people are more likely by 20 to 30% to be more productive. While many business owners aspire for long-term growth, their practical thinking often gravitates toward the 12-month horizon. So what's going to happen is, yes, we want to, for those of you that are currently on the call, there may be a number in mind that you have, right? It could be $100,000 a year. It could be $150,000 a year. And so for us, the way we make that happen is by making sure that we're thinking on a 4 week basis and doing it month over month. And then eventually what starts to happen as a business owner, you'll start to think, okay, now I've got it down to a science when it comes to working through a month to month. Now we start thinking about a quarter over quarter. What does that look like 3 months in comparison to the next 3 months? And so now we start to really get some traction on planning for success. Now, one thing that blew my mind here was that while 80% of businesses or business owners plan to grow in the next year, only 35% of them have a formal growth plan in place. So, what does that look like for you as an agent or an SA or even a GA in the role that you're in? Is number one, your formal growth plan. It needs to consist of number one, taking a look at your basic understanding and your day-to-day activity, but also a way to escalate that is taking a look at your hot and warm leads, right? For so many months, we all have been talking about the definitions of what kind of leads we generate out there on a given week and a given day. And so a lot of this plays a part in developing your formalized growth plan. And what do I mean by that? Because a lot of the times we're going into a business that we're presenting to, and they're going to tell us, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, I like you. I think you have some great things to offer. However, we don't do this until August. And again, those are major components that play a part in formalizing your plan for growth in the coming months. And again, those are still key valuable opportunities that play a big part in creating momentum month over month, right? Because we're not just taking this business from day to day, but what does it look like over the next 4 weeks? What does that look like for the next 36 weeks or 36 months? And it all starts on how we develop that muscle in planning for the future. A couple of other things I wanted to point out for you is what does this all bring to you as a business owner? And the first thing that comes to mind is improves your cash flow visibility. This is big. As a business owner, the term cash flow is super important to understand. And understanding that having the visibility of all that is super important because a 4 week plus forecast is going to help you highlight the upcoming shortfalls or maybe surpluses early enough to adjust maybe some spending, collections, or any financing that you may come up, right? Again, we're all business owners on this call, and too many, there's been a lot of mentoring calls and training calls that I've given in the past where people are coming into this opportunity, making the most money they've ever made, and they just happen to, again, it's some people do a great job and they put it away and they do the right things. Some people they act as if they've been making that kind of money every single week for the last 5 years. And so we just want to make sure that you guys be thinking long term and evolve your way of thinking as a business owner. So the 4-week forecast allows you to really take a look at what your next couple of weeks is looking like. Even from an enrollment standpoint, if not that, take a look at your bonus, right? So some of you are at 5, some of you are at 10, some of you are at 20% bonus. And by forecasting what your bonus is going to look like based on what you have coming through in your CRM, allows you to be more intentional, raise the level of urgency, and your actions will also align with those pieces, right? So key thing here is making sure that you can forecast helps you with cash flow visibility. All right. The other thing is it's going to enable you for that proactive decision making. You can act ahead of problems, whether it's, of course, we've got the hiring term, and then we've got some leaders on the call today. If we've got some big accounts we've got coming up that we're enrolling, and we've got some new agents that are part of our team that want to be, we want them to be taking part in those enrollments and seeing how the process works. So now, instead of reacting after results hit the P&L, right? So profit and loss here, this is something that we want to make sure that the 4-week forecast allows us to be able to understand what it looks like. The other thing it really helps us do is reduce operational risks. Anticipating demand, capacity, and overall team needs lowers the chance of stockouts, overstaffing, or missed deadlines. So the other piece, it supports smarter resource allocation. These forecasts guide you in where you need to deploy capital, people, and time for the highest near-term return. So where do I need to allocate my time based on the stops or the relationships I've built with over the last several weeks that will create return for me that I need this week? So super, super important. And then lastly here, it strengthens accountability and execution. So that short horizon forecasts are concrete, testable. It makes it easier to track any kind of changes, and we can correct quickly. If I'm looking at my dashboard and I'm looking at my averages and I see that I need X amount to create X, Y, and Z, this piece right here allows me to be able to create actions and focuses and adjustments to make this be profitable for me in the coming weeks. So the other pieces that I wanted to add is more of a why to it. And again, this is so important. I want to drive home the 4-week forecast because it's not just any document. It's not just a tool that is a check in the box for this business. It is where the foundation stands. And so I want to make sure everybody understands. So the first one is it improves your sales planning. This is the visibility of future volume, right? If you notice, for those of you that got a 4-week forecast, you've got AP goal, employees that are eligible, number of employees sold, right? These are things that you want to keep in front of you so that way, even if you're in week 3 of your 4-week forecast, you can even take a look back on what you wrote for those past 2 weeks and what was the outcome of those weeks. So again, it helps you tremendously prioritize. It also enhances your leadership's confidence. It enhances your leadership's confidence. So for me, as somebody that's in leadership and I see people that are, of course, filling up a 4-week forecast, it gives me that understanding that this person that I'm developing and mentoring and I'm helping them be successful has the opportunity or the ability to forecast with signals control, discipline, and credibility. So it gives me that confidence knowing that this person can be leveled up and considered for promotion. The other thing too is it aligns all of the teams around near-term priorities. What does that mean? If I've got, if I'm a GA or I'm an SA and I've got things that I want to plan for it and I've got a 4-week forecast that my team is turning into me, I can then, of course, make sure that I'm involved in certain areas or certain opportunities. I can plan for them. So whenever I've got people that are trying to reach out to me, I can then look at their 4-week forecast and align myself with those key opportunities to help keep sales, operations, and finance focus on those execution targets, which is growth. And then lastly, it builds, and this is my most favorite one, and it's building that forecasting muscle. It's that consistent short-range thinking of that forecasting that improves your accuracy over time, and it starts to form a foundation for long-term planning. So once you get to that 1-year mark, that 2-year mark, because of all of the intentional forecasting that you've done and studying all of this, the CRM, you're starting to then build that instinct and that ability to know how to then plan and project based on what you have in your Epic. So we talked about this in the previous training that the corporate office brought down for us, but I wanted to remind you, no difference in planning your 4-week forecast. The biggest rock right now is enrollments and appointments that you have. Make sure those are the first 2 layers that you're going to utilize in Epic. to help you find out where your 4-week forecast is going to start to fill up. The other pieces is you want to take a look at your medium rocks, right? This one is hot and warm leads. These are ones where businesses that you've presented to in the past, businesses that you might have met the decision maker, didn't convert them to an opportunity of a presentation or appointment, but they did tell you, however, that we can come back and reconnect at some point later in the year during a specific month. So again, very, very important opportunities and what I call buying windows to help sharpen your way of building your routes and building your future. So again, a lot of stuff comes from that. And then lastly, we've got our scheduled follow-ups. Our scheduled follow-ups, like we talked about before, they're still as valuable as any other type of lead disposition. Why? Because on a regular basis, we are getting to the decision maker 30% of the time. And so that leaves about 60 or 70% of the time where we've still got a lot of opportunity of meeting DMs. And so when I don't meet a DM, I'm still logging in my Epic when the better time would be to come back and reconnect or speak with the decision maker, because a lot of business owners are they're schedule and routine oriented. So by building that rapport with the gatekeeper, letting them know you're a professional, and of course at that point in time asking, would mornings or afternoons work better for Brian? And what are the bad days? That gives you a solid opportunity to go back into Epic and log a scheduled follow-up, which when you log it and you put it on your route, you'll be more likely to see a DM. And what that turns out to be is a consistent 30% DMs met or greater, which turns into converting opportunities. So super, super important. Let's not forget that. So one of the things that they mentioned on the training that they had earlier today was, remember, we're in the follow-up business. Capitalizing on the relationships that you've started in the field while back in the area is going to help you tremendously keep the momentum moving forward. Because again, by just walking in a first-time walk-ins and not focusing in on your follow-ups on a 50% new, 50% follow-up strategy, you're pretty much just walking in a business and seeing what sticks. We want to make sure that you're logging things correctly, prioritizing things appropriately, using the tools necessary. And that's what strategy is all about. Now, one of the things I wanted to make sure you all are remembered. So for those of you that are currently in leadership, or if you are currently an agent, make sure that something you want to remind yourself to put in the 4-week forecast. Something I used to use the 4-week forecast for was whenever I was planning my week as a leader, as a G or an AD, I would have on my 4-week forecast who I was going to be in the field with, what GA, what SA, or I'm sorry, what SA, what agent. Maybe it's an agent I'm looking to promote here in the next couple of months. Maybe it's an SA that has a lot of potential but is going through some challenges at the moment. But I'm using my 4-week forecast to really plan my month on who I'm developing for that next level. And so again, the 4-week forecast can be used in multiple areas of leadership and in the field. So lots of good uses there. So one of the biggest things you want to understand in the 4-week forecast is you want all 4 weeks of the month forecasted to give yourself a roadmap of your future activity and paychecks. So let's go ahead and start by going in and dialing in on building a plan of action that will help you avoid unforeseen cash flow problems and manage your production needs more. It's going to help you become more effective. So this is just an example of what it's going to look like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, in those 4 columns that you see down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my camera down to my desk view, and you're going to be able to see how I then utilize the Epic dashboards, or I'm sorry, the Epic platform under the map to pull up the layers. And then I'll also show you how I'm filling this out while I'm going in. So let me go ahead and switch my share here. Thank you all for your patience while I do this. So let me see. Let me switch my camera. Let's make sure I got it in the right position. So let's see. Before I share. Okay. Can you guys see my, okay, let's see right there. Boom. Look at that, man. These new Apple computers, they've got this feature where can you all see what I've got going on here? You guys see my hands? Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Okay. So as you can see, let me go and zoom in just a little bit more. As you guys can see here, I've got my Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, as well as my Friday lined up. I've got my dates of the week. Now it's going to start off with the Monday, although this is your Tuesday column. I know there is some ADs out there that did add another block or another column down there so they can add a Monday to it, because they do some people operate from a Monday standpoint. So again, what I do is I start off by putting in the date of the Monday for that week that I'm planning 4 weeks in advance. Down here below, you've got your AP goal, your employees that are eligible, and your number of employees sold, which I'll go over in just a moment. But over here to the right-hand side, one of the biggest things, again, it breaks it down in simple format. So this is being recorded. So if you do need some so if you need some, sorry about that. So if you guys need some additional insight, maybe some refreshers, it tells you right here on the right-hand side what to fill in, starting out with what's most important. And number one is your enrollments and re-enrollments. You're going to put in the name of the business, the number of employees. Make sure that you've got, the city and the projected AP that you've got right here down below where the AP goal is. And I'll show you how to calculate that in just a moment. You could also include the number of appointments that you have in that same city that you're running an enrollment in. If you don't have anything scheduled for the given weeks that you have, just start off by also listing out some prospecting cities that you want to go back to because you have number one, hot follow-ups, number two, scheduled follow-ups, and of course that's going to help you determine how many packs you may need for that given week. So now that we've pretty much given you a quick overview of what it's going to look like on my screen here, I'm going to start off by sharing my screen once again, and you're going to be able to see how I navigate the GeoPoint map to figure this out. So give me a second here. I'm going to pull up my browser. All right, give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you see my map. Okay, let's go. We're in business. So a couple of things here you're going to notice off to my left, I've got my layers. You see how my mouth's got all big here. As you know, the biggest thing that I do, here's what I do. Number one, I'm not going to use any shapes here, but I already have it pre-populated, but I'm going to click everywhere the first time, and I'm going to go ahead and what I do, why I click everywhere is because I'm pulling up my enrollments first. And so I've got my enrollments under your worksite enrollments. You've got enrollments 2 months out, enrollments 3 months out, enrollments next month, and enrollments this month. So for those of you that are, again, getting to a point where you've been with us for quite some time and you're coming up on your mid-year or your annual enrollment for your accounts, this is where you would find your accounts that are scheduled to be enrolled during open enrollment. So for this particular example, I'm going to go here. This is called the legend. All right. The legend. It's got the blue, green, and red squares. It's called the legend. If you hover over it, it gives you the name. And then the first thing that you can see here is I've got my layer that's applied. It's going to tell me exactly what it is, enrollments this month. And what I did was I'm going to go ahead and hide all of these first so I could show you what that looks like. So I'm going to hide all. Okay, so that way you guys can see what I'm looking at. And I'll zoom in just a moment because I know some of you are like, what the heck is he looking at? So give me just 1 second. But as you can see, everything in red is what it pulled up for annual enrollments. And the reason why I didn't use shape for this particular layer, as you can see here, everywhere, map view, shape, and nearby. When I'm pulling up my enrollments, I want to know where everything is, okay? And then what I do is now when I pull up my enrollments that I have to service, what I did is I grabbed the shape builder and I used the radius here and I made a radius around my enrollments that I have coming up. And the reason why I do that is because when I then start to look for opportunities that are around these money-making opportunities, it's only going to pull up whatever is in that shape that I pulled in. So now I'm going to go ahead and select shape because after clicking everywhere and then selecting the enrollments that I've got coming up this next month and this month, I've got my enrollments that are going to make me my paycheck for the week. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the next most important thing, which is my worksite appointments. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that layer once again. And it's again, because I have it in shape, because I have it set into shape, it's only going to pull up what I have in that shape because I want my routes to be, consistent or around my money making opportunity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, right? And I'm just going to take a look at what I've got going on here. And I've got this particular annual enrollment. If I click on it, right, here's a couple of things that it tells me. It tells me who the DM is, what I've got going on. It has the number of employees that it has, and here's what it's going to tell me, okay? This is where when I'm, let's see, enrollment start period is 2/1 to 2/28. So I've got the entire month. Let's say I've already scheduled this out for the 24th of February, right? Or let's say I even got it scheduled for, just to make things a little easier, I've got it scheduled for the 16th of February. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to show you how I fill this out. The name of this one is this right here. So I'm going to switch and you guys are going to see my desktop view. So I've got this right here. It's my Tuesday. This is going to be Tuesday the 17th I'm going to put in the enrollment that I have. Now, the cool thing is I know I'm going to put the city name just to help me out here. Jacksonville is where this is right here. Jacksonville enrollment at preparatory. Uh, okay, so now that I've got the enrollment, it's on the 17th. That one's pretty one. And then I'm going to go back in to the map. Let me share my screen once again. Okay, so this one has a total of 17 employees. So again, I've only got one enrollment scheduled for this week. So this is going to tell me how I'm going to calculate the AP that I've got coming up for this week. So again, I'm going to stop sharing once again so you can see what my screen looks like. So right here, total eligible employees. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit right here. Let me put it down here. Total eligible, employees eligible right there. I'm going to put 17. Okay. Now, here's the deal. We on average have about 60% participation. So with there being 17 employees, I'm going to project, right? 17 times 60%. That's about 10 employees. The average amount of AP that's written on a policy is about, I would say, $700. It's maybe gone up or down. It may vary based on your area. So multiply that by 700. So I'm looking at $7,140, right? 7,000. So the AP goal right now is 7,000 for that week. Boom, baby. $7,000 in annualized premium. So now it's giving me an idea of, okay, I may be in the current week that I'm in, but on the week of the 16th, with that enrollment coming through, I'm projecting to make about $17,000 in annualized premium from those 17 employees that I'm looking to write. Okay. Now that I've got that 1 week, I'm going to go back to my map when it comes to enrollments, and I'm going to look back at what other enrollments I have coming up. All right, we've got this one here. This one's still same month. I've already scheduled. That one's the one that I've got scheduled for the week of the 24th or the 23rd, and that one's enrolling on the 25th. So coming up on that last part there. So I've got that one, and that's okay. Okay, so I've got that one. That one has 7 employees, and that's my only enrollment. So I've only got 7 eligible employees. So I'm coming in here 7 times 0.6 times 700. I'm projecting about 2,940. So the goal is going to be 2,900 for that week. So right there, just alone, looking at what I've got projected for that week, I've got bonus level production for 2 weeks in a row in the month of February. So that's again giving me that understanding of what my cash flow is going to look like for the month of, of February. And again, it opens up my eyes on, okay, so now that I've got my enrollments for the first 2 weeks of February, I'm going to go in here once again. Now that I've got my enrollments, let's take a look at any appointments that I've got coming up. Looks like for this coming week, I've got an appointment on Tuesday, which is the 17th. So good news is I've got an enrollment that I'm going to be at there. So I'm going to put that appointment there for that week. And then let's see. I'm going to add that appointment there in Jacksonville appointment. Okay, boom. So Jacksonville. Here's the deal though. I've got Gainesville, right? I've got Gainesville this coming week. So this is Tuesday, another February enrollment. This one I've got scheduled for the week or for the 17th. So right after that, I've got 2 enrollments in a given week. So again, tons of calculation here. Here's where it starts to get fun. All right. Now let's go ahead. Now that I've got my enrollments on my 4 week forecast here, I'm going to start off by looking at my warm leads now. Scroll down, warm leads. Let's see what I got. Let it load. And again, I got it set in shape, so it's going to pull up a ton. I'm in my management folder, so I've got to look at all that, right? So I go to my legend. I can hide a few. I'm just going to hide here. Boom. Give me a second. Okay. Watch this. I'm going to show you something really, really cool. Oh, who's got the most? Boom. Okay, so now again, I got my appointments. I got my I have my enrollments were first, my appointments were second. Now I'm looking at my hot and warm leads, making sure I don't have any warm leads or any hot leads that I need to add. So here's some cool features I can show you that I'm gonna walk through here. Let me see, where is it at? Who's got quite a bit here? Okay, now I'm gonna share my screen once again. Okay, let's see, where'd it go? All right. Mm, there it is. Okay. Shoot. Sorry, guys. Trying to pull up the right one. Okay, there it is. Okay, so here's what you can do. So now, pay attention here, guys. This is important, right? So I'm going in here. I'm going to my management folder, and what I did is I clicked on the worksite hot and warm leads, and this is what it populated. Look at all these hot leads right here. Got some hot leads, got some warm leads, a ton of opportunity. Here's what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to scroll down because there's so many. What I can do is I scroll down here, and in this search bar, I can type in the month that I'm looking to fill. So February is what I'm looking to fill. So February. And what it did when I typed in February here, over here, look at this right here. Look at this. Right here. Boom, boom, boom. Where my mouse is. Right here. Look at that. Look at that. Right there. February. It gives me a full list of what leads I had logged as a warm lead. So here's the deal, guys. This is where it starts to get really cool. I can start to add February warm leads to my 4-week, and based on the area, right? So now I start to zoom in, right? And I mean, this is quite a bit, so it gets pretty crazy to try to manage. But again, the better we get at managing these right here, the more that you're going to get. So right here, what I typically do, what I would recommend doing is just, again, you're not going to have this many. I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to have roughly, 30 to 40. But what I'll say is you're going to have the ability to go into your hot and warm lead layer, type in the month that you're looking to fill. So for example, right here, I can look at the notes of what happened. I went to the business to have some tire repaired. I scheduled an appointment to do presentation Tuesday, 10th. Whoa, so this one's pretty out of date, but here's what I can tell you. If you're ever looking for a way to just quickly look at all the details over here to the bottom left-hand side, I'm gonna circle my mouse, see if I can get you click you click the three dots right here, and you can actually click on come on. There you go. You can actually click view journal, and this particular warm lead was never worked, right? So again, it's just one of those things where we've got to make sure that this is something that we're using to stay on top of our leads, right? The other one I'm looking at here, I go down here, I click view journal. Doesn't look like we got a chance to work that one. So then I'm going down here. Come on, give me one. Right, so these have been logged in a follow-up status with February. So here's the key takeaway. When I'm going into these, you're going to be able to then remember what you have in your pipeline by just typing in February, or it's going to tell you by month. If you click on the legend, it'll tell you by month. But what it's going to do is it's going to help you. So let's say, for instance, this first business. Let's say, for instance, this tire outlet. This is located in Jacksonville. Actually, you know what I'm going to do, because I have my enrollment here. I'm going to scoot in here and I'm going to say, okay, let's take a look at some of these. Okay, I've got a couple of hot follow-ups here. Okay, hot follow-up here. I'm gonna put this one on my 4-week forecast. Regency Inn. Okay. So I'm going to add a few of these, right? So again, now I've got my Tuesday that I've got an enrollment on Tuesday the 17th. So not only do I have an enrollment, I've got an appointment I added to it, and I've got several hot leads that I put in that place. So the key that I'm trying to share with you all is it's going to be more manageable from your point of view because you don't have as many, I would say 537. So there's an area of opportunity in this particular area, but I will say you're going to be able to pull up what you have available and start planning for your month by looking at these in particular. Now, if I just go in here and I go to the search bar and I type in hot follow up, I know we're coming up on the 3 o'clock hour, team. So now that I put in hot follow up, if you guys can see here on my screen, I put into the search bar hot follow up, any hot follow ups that I got, it's going to show me hot follow up. So this is going to help me be able to then add, okay, I've got this one. I can't get to it this week. So I'm going to add this hot follow up to the week of the 24th. So now down here, I've got Jacksonville. I'm going to be there. I've got Gainesville on Wednesday. So I'm going to so now again, this is already next week's plans, but I'm already putting the name of the city that I'm planning on going to because of what I've got going on in that area. And then you wash, rinse, repeat with the following weeks as well. But it's all going to be determined on hot leads, warm leads that told you to come back at a better time of the year. And so, you want to make sure you're going into the other layer that you can use. And this is the final one I'm going to go over with you because I know we're short on time, but it is your presentations not closed layer. All right. And this is one that's super important. You want to stay on top of. It's located, of course, in your worksite folder. But again, it goes back to we're in a follow-up business. So when I go into this, I'm going to click my presentation's not closed. Once it pulls up, it's going to give me, but again, it's only pulling what I have set because I put a shape and I put shapes around my enrollments that I had coming up. Let's see here. Okay, where did it go? There it is. Okay, so again, just real quick, it gives me a list of businesses and I can take a look at where they're located on the map from the from where I'm at. And again, it goes back to what do I want to plan out for the next 4 weeks. So just by looking at this alone, again, guys, this is what's going to change and revolutionize the way that you're looking at your weekly planning, your monthly planning. And again, I know we're short on time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your ADs or myself. I'd love to get on a call with you all specifically to your account so we can pull up your Epic. We can take a look at a few of your areas that you have. And again, it's just going to start to fall in place. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I just had an exercise with an agent by the name of Jordan, and he was telling me, of course, we sat down during lunch, pulled up his layers, and one of the things that he was like, man, I thank you for this. I forgot about this account. Now I got to go back to it. So it just started to open up, and he planned that out for the following week. And so, with all that being said, team, that's all I've got for you today. Let's finish out our Mondays, get back in the field, and rock it out for those of you that are in the field. And I'll see you all next week, baby. See you, everybody.